It was a cold, gray morning, and the wind howled through the trees, carrying with it a bitter chill that seemed to match the heaviness in my chest. I stood there, at Travis's funeral, surrounded by a handful of friends, family, and colleagues. But it felt like I was standing alone in the middle of a vast, empty field. The man I had loved for over 15 years, my partner, my protector, was gone, and I wasn't sure I even knew why. Travis had always been careful. He didn't take risks. He was methodical in everything he did, from his work to the small routines we built around our family. So how could he have died in a freak accident at the construction site? It didn't make sense. There had to be more to it. But at that moment, as the mourners muttered soft words of condolence, I felt a sickening knot in my stomach. Something was off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all part of a much bigger story. The following days were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Travis's face, his laugh, his touch, his presence. And then the message, the one that kept echoing in my mind. I'm still here. Don't trust anyone. It gnawed at me, pulling me deeper into a spiral I couldn't escape. The funeral was over, but the real mystery was just beginning. I needed answers, and the only way to get them was to keep digging. I stood at the window of our modest home in Chesterfield, looking out over the sleepy streets, the kind of small town where everyone knew everyone, and everything was always just fine. At least, that's what it looked like on the surface. But the longer I stayed in that house, the more I felt like a stranger in my own life. Something was wrong, and I wasn't sure what. I needed to make sense of it. It had been a few days since I'd received the message, and the more I thought about it, the more confused I became. Who could have sent it? And why would they say, "Don't trust anyone"? Was someone trying to warn me? Or was I just losing my mind? The more I thought about it, the more I noticed things, small things about Travis that seemed off. How he'd been distant in the weeks leading up to his death, how he'd kept his work life, his personal life, his finances so separate from me. Had he known something was coming? And then there were my sons, Dylan and Aiden. Dylan, at 19, had always been the more distant one. His ambition was clear from an early age. He wanted more than this town, more than the life Travis and I worked so hard to build. He had dreams of big cities, big money. Aiden, on the other hand, was still too young to fully understand, but his quietness had grown since the funeral. Something wasn't right with them. It didn't feel like grief. It felt like something else. I tried to push the thoughts away, but they came back stronger. I decided to confront Dylan. It was time I asked the questions that had been haunting me. Maybe I would get answers. Maybe I wouldn't. But I couldn't sit by any longer, not knowing what was happening. Who is behind the message? Why does Jade feel this deep sense of betrayal from her sons? Tease the mystery early and build anticipation for the answers. What would you do if you suspected your children were hiding something from you? Let us know in the comments. This directly involves the audience, encouraging them to reflect on their own experiences and share them. I found Dylan sitting on the couch, his usual blank stare fixed on the TV screen. I could tell he wasn't really watching. The distant look in his eyes was something I'd seen before, but never this intense. "Dylan," I said, my voice tight, "we need to talk." He didn't look up. "About what, Mom?" His words felt cold, almost dismissive. It sent a shiver through me, and I had to fight to keep my composure. "About Travis, about his death." At this, Dylan's gaze flickered toward me, but it was brief. He didn't seem shocked, didn't seem to care. "What about it?" I could feel my pulse quickening. "I don't believe it was an accident, Dylan. There's something I'm missing here. Something doesn't add up." Dylan shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His fingers drummed against the armrest, but his face remained emotionless. "You're overthinking it, Mom. You always do. It was just a freak accident, like they said." His words stung, but it wasn't his denial that bothered me. It was how disconnected he sounded. There was no sorrow, no pain in his voice, just indifference. I pushed forward. "I don't think it was, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did your father know something about his death? Were you involved in anything, Dylan? Anything that could explain why I'm being sent these messages?" His eyes narrowed, his fingers halting their rhythm on the chair. For a split second, I saw something in him, something I couldn't place. Fear? Guilt? But then it was gone, like a flicker of light in the darkness. "I don't know what you're talking about," he muttered, turning his gaze back to the TV. I stood there frozen. The words felt hollow. He was lying. I could feel it. But what was I supposed to do? How could I make him tell me the truth when he wasn't even willing to look me in the eye? I took a deep breath, fighting back the urge to scream. "Dylan, I know you're hiding something. If you won't tell me, then I'll find out myself." He didn't respond. I left the room, my heart pounding in my chest. The confronting with Dylan leaves the audience on edge. What is he hiding?
Why is he so indifferent? Do you think Dylan knows more than he's letting on? Comment yes or no below. Later that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I felt the eyes of the town on me, the whispers, the silent judgment. I'd always loved this small town, this place where everyone knew your name, but now it felt suffocating. And as the days dragged on, the suspicion grew. What if Travis's death wasn't just a random accident? What if it was all part of something bigger? The more I thought about it, the more questions came rushing in. Why was I the last to know? What had Travis gotten himself mixed up in? And why had I been left in the dark? I needed answers. I needed to know what was really going on before I lost everything. But there was one thing I was sure of. Whoever was behind this, whoever sent those messages, they were watching me, and they didn't want me to know the truth. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time to join us. You won't want to miss the next twist. Subscribe now to stay in the loop and be part of the story.
It was the quietest night since Travis's death. The kind of silence that settles into your bones, cold and heavy. I sat in our living room, the same room where we used to spend our evenings together, curled up on the couch, talking about everything and nothing. Now, the only thing left was the echo of memories I couldn't escape. I kept staring at the spot where Travis used to sit, his favorite chair, right by the window. It was empty now. And it felt like everything else in our house was too. Max had gone to bed early, his face pale, like he was carrying a weight too heavy for his young shoulders. Dylan and Aiden were in their rooms. The house is silent as a tomb. I didn't know where Dylan had gone when he left the funeral early, but I had a sinking feeling it wasn't just to clear his head. I didn't know what was happening to my family, but I felt it in my gut, the cold, growing distance, the same distance I could see in Dylan's eyes when he looked at me. It wasn't just grief anymore. It was something worse. I got up and walked to the kitchen, my feet dragging with every step. There on the counter was a letter I hadn't noticed earlier, Travis's handwriting, unmistakable. It wasn't just the fact that the letter was there that bothered me, but the fact that it felt out of place, like something I wasn't supposed to find. My hands shook as I opened it, my heart pounding in my chest. The words were simple but unsettling. Max is going to need you more than ever. Don't let Dylan pull you into his plans. I'm not sure how much time I have left, but whatever happens, I need you to stay strong. It felt like a punch to the stomach. I couldn't understand why Travis hadn't told me this directly. Why hadn't he come to me, sat me down, and told me what was going on? And what plans? What was Dylan mixed up in? Was he planning something behind my back? I stood there for a moment, staring at the letter. I didn't know if I was supposed to feel comforted by his last words or terrified of what they meant. But one thing was clear. Travis had known something was coming, and he had kept it from me. That hurt more than I was willing to admit. What did Travis know? Why didn't he tell Jade the full truth? Keep the audience invested by leaving key questions unanswered. Have you ever discovered a secret that made you question everything you thought you knew? Share your thoughts in the comments. I sat down at the kitchen table, my mind racing. Travis had always been open with me, but now I was left with more questions than answers. Why hadn't he shared this with me before? And what was Dylan planning? I thought back to all the little moments I'd brushed off in the past few months. Dylan's late nights, the sudden trips out of town, the quiet conversations he'd had with Aiden. Something had changed in him, and it wasn't just because of Travis's death. It was something deeper, something darker. I remember how, just a few days ago, I'd walked into the living room to find Dylan and Aiden huddled together, talking in hushed voices. When they saw me, they instantly broke apart. Aiden had his usual blank expression, but Dylan's eyes. There was something in his eyes. A look of guilt, of fear, or was it anger? I brushed it off,
told myself I was just being paranoid. But now, reading Travis's letter, I wondered if I had ignored something that had been right in front of me all along. Max had always been the one who needed reassurance. He had always looked to Mimi for strength. But now, it felt like I was the one who needed answers, and fast. I had to know what was going on. I had to know who Dylan really was becoming, and I had to find out what Travis meant when he said, "Don't let Dylan pull you into his plans." But how could I confront Dylan when he wouldn't even look me in the eye? Use this section to deepen the mystery and the emotional conflict between Jade and her sons. What is Dylan hiding? Why is he acting this way? Prompt viewers with questions to think about. How do you handle discovering a family member is hiding something from you? Let's talk about it in the comments. The next morning, the house felt colder. The kids were getting ready for school, the hum of everyday life continuing, but I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was changing. I knew I needed to speak to Dylan again, but my nerves were a mess. What if he was involved in something I couldn't get him out of? I found him in the kitchen, his back to me as he made himself breakfast. The moment I stepped into the room, he stiffened, like he knew what was coming. "Dylan," I said softly, trying to sound calm, "I need to know what's going on. What was Travis talking about in that letter?" Dylan didn't turn around. He kept his back to me, his face flat. "It's nothing, Mom. You're overreacting." "Don't lie to me," I snapped, my voice rising without meaning to. "I know something is going on. I know you're hiding something, and I'm not going to let it go. Tell me what Travis meant. Tell me what you've been keeping from me." For a moment, he was silent. Then finally, he turned, his face as cold as the ice in his eyes. "I'm not the one hiding anything. You're the one who's too busy living in the past to see what's right in front of you." His words stung, but they also cut deeper. There was something in his tone, something that sent a chill down my spine. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I mean, you're too busy grieving that you can't see the truth. Maybe it's time to let go, Mom," he said, turning back to his breakfast. I stood there, frozen, my heart pounding. He didn't say it outright, but I could feel it. Dylan was pushing me away. He didn't want me to know the truth. And now it was clear to me he was part of something that was bigger than I could imagine. Leave the viewers on edge with Dylan's cryptic response. What is he hiding? What's the truth he's not sharing? If you want to know what happens next, don't wait. Subscribe now to Raw Race Stories and stay with us for the shocking truths yet to come.
The weight of the silence in the house that night was unbearable. After my conversation with Dylan, the air seemed to thicken, as though the walls themselves were closing in on me. It wasn't just his words. It was the way he looked at me, like he had already made up his mind about something I wasn't privy to. And that terrified me. I tried to sleep, tried to push it all out of my mind, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw Travis's face. I heard his voice, that soft laugh we used to share at the dinner table. But now all of it felt like a distant memory. What happened to us? What happened to my family? It wasn't just the strange messages or the letter I'd found from Travis. It wasn't just the way Dylan was avoiding my questions. It was something deeper, something that I couldn't put my finger on. But my gut told me I was on the edge of discovering something big. That's when I decided to do what I had been avoiding for days. I needed to go through Travis's things. I needed to understand what had been going on behind the scenes. I went into his study, the room that used to feel like a refuge. Now it felt like a cold, empty shell. The scent of his cologne lingered in the air, a stark reminder of everything I'd lost. I ran my fingers across the desk, and that's when I noticed the folder. It was tucked beneath a pile of papers, almost as if someone had tried to hide it. I opened it slowly, my heart hammering in my chest, and inside were more documents. Insurance papers, bank statements, even a few files with names I didn't recognize. But one document caught my attention. It was a receipt. A bank receipt for a large sum of money. A sum that didn't make sense. Where did this money come from, Travis? I whispered to the empty room as though he could answer me from beyond the grave. What was Travis hiding? Why would he make such a large transaction without telling Jade? Have you ever discovered something that made you question everything you knew about someone? Tell us your story in the comments. I didn't know what to make of it. The sum was large enough to raise a red flag, but small enough that it could easily be overlooked. Had he been secretly preparing for something? Was this connected to his death? I couldn't shake the thought that this was more than just a simple mistake or an accidental oversight. I scanned the rest of the papers, my eyes moving faster now, looking for anything that could explain what I was seeing. And then I found it. A letter. A letter from Travis's lawyer, dated just a week before his accident. My breath caught in my throat as I read the words. Dear Mr. Peterson, regarding your request for changes to the life insurance policy, we have processed your request. Please ensure that all necessary arrangements are finalized. Changes? What changes? Why wouldn't he tell me about this? I sat there for a moment, completely still, the letter in my hands trembling. It didn't make sense. Why would Travis change his life insurance policy, and why would he keep it from me? The more I thought about it, the more questions flooded my mind. Had someone pressured him? Was he afraid of something or someone? I stood up, the letter still in my hands, my mind racing. It was becoming clearer to me now. Travis hadn't just died by accident. There was something more to it. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized how much I'd been kept in the dark. I couldn't stay in that room any longer. My heart was pounding too loudly, and I felt like I might suffocate if I stayed in that study for even another second. What was Travis really involved in? What would you do if you found out your loved one had kept secrets from you? Would you confront them or keep digging? Let us know in the comments. I stepped out into the hallway, trying to steady my breath. My thoughts were a mess, the pieces of the puzzle scattered in every direction. I needed to confront Dylan again. But this time, it wasn't just about the vague conversations. It was about what I had just discovered. Dylan was still in his room when I knocked on the door. There was a hesitation before he finally opened it, his face unreadable. Dylan, I told you I don't know what you're talking about, he said, his voice flat, almost rehearsed. I found something, I said, holding up the letter. This isn't just about your father's death, Dylan. There's something else going on here, something you're not telling me. His eyes flickered briefly, and that's when I knew I had caught him off guard. I don't know what you think you're going to find, but you're wasting your time, Dylan said, his voice colder than I had ever heard it. Maybe you should just let it go. Let it go? I couldn't. Not now. Not when I was this close to uncovering the truth. You don't understand, I said, my voice shaking with frustration. I need to know, Dylan. I need you to tell me what's going on. For a moment, there was silence. And then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded. I'll tell you, but not right now, he said, turning away. You're not ready for this. What is he afraid to tell his mother? If you want to know what happens next and uncover the truth behind Dylan's words, subscribe to Raw Race Stories. Don't miss the next shocking reveal. It had been 3 days since my conversation with Dylan, and I still couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of Travis's letter haunted me. I couldn't just forget about the changes to his life insurance policy. Why hadn't he told me? Why had he kept these secrets? The house felt emptier now, and not just because of Travis's absence. It was as though the walls themselves were hiding something from me, something I wasn't supposed to find. But I knew, deep down, that I had to keep looking. I wasn't ready to let this go, even if it meant digging into the darkest corners of our life together. I couldn't trust Dylan anymore. Every word he said felt like a half-truth, wrapped in a layer of guilt and deflection. And Aiden, my sweet, quiet Aiden, had been acting strange too. He barely spoke. His usual playful demeanor was replaced by something cold.
Max, on the other hand, was quieter than usual. He still hadn't come to terms with the fact that his dad was gone, but he seemed to know that something was wrong with our family. I could see the confusion in his eyes every time I looked at him. I had to know the truth, for Max, for me. So I did what I dreaded. I went back into the study. This time, I wasn't just looking for answers. I was going to find the ones Travis had kept hidden from me. What secrets is Jade about to uncover? What is Travis hiding? Have you ever felt like you didn't know the full story about someone close to you? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts below. The study felt colder this time. The air seemed thick, almost suffocating. I stood in front of the desk, staring at the cluttered papers and old files, but something caught my eye. A folder that I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't just any folder. It was darker, like it had been tucked away on purpose. My heart raced as I opened it, my fingers trembling with anticipation. Inside were more papers, but this time they weren't just about insurance policies. They were about money. A bank statement dated just 2 weeks ago, with a large sum transferred from one account to another. The amount was substantial, way too substantial for Travis to have kept hidden from me. And the recipient? Sam Davis. Sam. I knew that name. Sam Davis was a local businessman, someone who had always seemed too polished for this small town, too ambitious. I had never thought much of him, but I knew he and Travis had done business together. But why was Travis sending him this kind of money? I leaned in closer, studying the transaction details. My mind raced with questions. Had Travis been involved in something I didn't know about? Was Sam Davis the person Travis was trying to protect me from? The more I looked at the papers, the more the answers felt just out of reach. Then there was another document, a letter from Travis's lawyer. It was dated the same day as the bank statement. As per your request, the transfer has been processed. Please ensure the necessary arrangements are made. The same lawyer that had been in contact about the life insurance policy. Jade is getting closer to the truth. The more she uncovers, the more the mystery deepens. What do you think Travis was involved in? Was he hiding something from Jade? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I sat there, the documents scattered across the desk in front of me. My head was spinning. What had Travis gotten mixed up in? What did Sam Davis have to do with all of this? Was this about money, or was it something more? I couldn't sit still any longer. I needed to know more. I needed to confront Sam. But as I turned to leave the study, I froze. There, on the desk, was a small notebook that had slipped out from under a pile of papers. It wasn't like the others. It was worn, the edges frayed from years of use. I opened it, flipping through the pages slowly, and that's when I saw it. The writing was Travis's. The notes were brief, but chilling. They're watching. Sam knows more than he's letting on. I can't trust him. I need to make sure Jade is safe. The words jumped off the page, sending a shiver down my spine. Travis had known something was coming. He had known he was in danger. And now it all made sense. He had been trying to protect me. But from who? From what? I couldn't sit on this any longer. I had to act. Who is Sam really, and why was Travis so afraid of him? If you want to uncover the truth behind this mystery, don't wait. Subscribe to Raw Race Stories to follow Jade's journey and find out what happens next.
The next morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. Everywhere I went, it felt like someone was watching me, waiting for me to uncover something I wasn't supposed to see. The weight of the previous days, of the documents, the secrets, and the unanswered questions was beginning to take its toll. But I couldn't stop now.
I couldn't back down. I sat in the kitchen, staring out the window, my fingers absent-mindedly tracing the edge of my coffee mug. The small, quiet town of Chesterfield had always been a place of comfort, where the pace was slow and everyone knew everyone else. But now, every corner I turned felt like another layer of this place was unraveling. And what I was uncovering wasn't the life I had once known. It was a world full of lies, manipulation, and deceit. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even Rachel, about what I'd discovered. Part of me feared the judgment, the disbelief, but the bigger part knew I couldn't carry this burden alone anymore. I needed answers, and I was going to find them, no matter the cost. That's when I decided to dig into Travis's past. I had already uncovered his hidden dealings with Sam Davis, but there was something about Sam's coldness, his influence in town, that didn't sit right. What was Travis involved in? What had he been keeping from me all these years? I took a deep breath and pulled out the old address book Travis kept in the drawer by the kitchen table. It had always been a reminder of how organized he was. Every contact neatly written down, everything in its place. But now, it felt like the key to unlocking the truth. What will Jade uncover in Travis's past? What is Sam Davis hiding? The suspense builds as Jade prepares to investigate further. Have you ever uncovered something about a loved one that changed everything you thought you knew about them? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Flipping through the pages, I saw names that were familiar and some that weren't. Then I found it. A name I hadn't expected to see. Chris Walker, a private investigator. I froze. Why had Travis been in contact with him? I didn't recognize the name, but there was something about it that sparked a memory. Travis had mentioned a private investigator once, months ago. He'd brushed it off quickly, as if it didn't matter. But now, as I read through the contact details, I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that this was more important than I had thought. I pulled out my phone and found the number listed under Chris Walker. I stared at the screen for a moment, my mind racing with questions. What had Travis been afraid of? Why hadn't he told me the truth? Before I could talk myself out of it, I dialed the number. The phone rang twice before it was answered. Hello? Mr. Walker, I said, my voice steady, but my heart racing. I need to speak to you about Travis Peterson. I believe you were hired by him recently. I need to know what he was involved in. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. For a moment, I wondered if he would hang up on me, but then he spoke. I can't discuss any details over the phone, but I can meet you. We need to talk face to face. There's a lot more going on here than you realize.
The drive to the old diner where I agreed to meet Chris Walker felt like a lifetime. I kept thinking about the file he'd shown me, the photographs, the surveillance reports. Each one felt like a stab to the heart, revealing secrets I never thought I'd uncover about my husband. I was so close now. I could feel it, like the last breath of a storm before it all comes crashing down. But as I walked into the diner, the weight of the moment wasn't just about the revelations I was about to face. It was about my family. Dylan, Aiden. How much of this mess were they truly involved in? What secrets were they hiding from me? As I stepped through the door, I couldn't shake the cold feeling in my chest. This wasn't just about finding answers anymore. This was about protecting my sons, if I could. Dylan had been distant ever since the funeral. He'd barely spoken to me, barely acknowledged my presence. But today I was going to get the truth. No more hiding behind silence, no more lies. What will Dylan say? Will he confess? The suspense builds as Jade prepares for a confrontation with her son. Have you ever confronted someone you love knowing they were hiding something from you? What happened? Let us know in the comments below. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same thing. Dylan looking at me with that cold, distant expression. His warning echoing in my mind. Just be careful. It was as if he knew something dangerous, and was trying to protect me from it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't trust him. Not anymore. I had no choice. I had to dig deeper. I had to uncover the truth, no matter what it cost me. I didn't know what I was expecting when I walked into Chris Walker's office that day. I had already uncovered so much, so many secrets, so many lies. But there was something about Chris's quiet demeanor, his reluctance to share details, that told me I hadn't even scratched the surface yet. The door creaked shut behind me as I walked into the dimly lit room, and for the first time, I felt the weight of what I was doing. This wasn't just about Travis anymore. This wasn't just about uncovering the truth. This was about survival, my family's survival. Chris sat behind a cluttered desk, a stack of papers scattered in front of him. His eyes were focused, like he was calculating his next move. He looked up when I entered, a flicker of something in his eyes. Sympathy, maybe, but also a hard edge, a reminder that the truth we were about to uncover wouldn't be easy. "You ready?" Chris asked, his voice steady but with a hint of urgency. He didn't wait for my answer. "You need to hear this. It's time to put everything on the table." I nodded, my heart racing. There was no turning back now. I had to know everything. What is Chris going to say? What will Jade discover about her husband? Have you ever had to face a truth you weren't ready for? What did you do when you found out? Share your thoughts in the comments. Chris slid a folder toward me, the contents thick with paperwork. My hand hesitated before I opened it, knowing that what I was about to read could change everything. I flipped the folder open, and my eyes immediately landed on a series of photographs. The first picture was of Travis, looking younger, but unmistakably him, standing in a crowded room with Sam Davis. My breath caught in my throat. I'd never seen Travis like this before, smiling, laughing, at ease. But what was he doing with Sam? How far back did this go? "I thought Travis and Sam were just business associates," I muttered, trying to keep my voice steady. "But this doesn't look like business." Chris nodded, his face grim. "It wasn't just business. Your husband was getting close to something much bigger, something Sam didn't want to get out. It's why Travis was killed, and why they'll do whatever it takes to stop you from finding the truth." I leaned forward, my heart pounding in my chest. What was it, Chris? What did they want from him? What did Travis find? Chris's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's not just about money, Mrs. Peterson. It's about power. Sam's connected to a network, an underground operation that controls more than just the town. They're involved in everything, from local politics to illegal trade. And Travis got too close. He started asking questions that no one in Chesterfield wanted to answer. The revelation that Travis was involved in something dangerous raises the stakes for Jade. What was he uncovering? Who is Sam really? Do you think Travis knew too much? Was his death part of a larger scheme? Let us know in the comments below. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. Illegal trade? Politics? This wasn't the quiet life I thought I was living. This was a world of secrets and lies, of people pulling strings from the shadows. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Why didn't you stop me from getting involved in this?" Chris looked at me, his gaze softening for a moment. "I couldn't. Travis hired me to protect you, but he also told me that you'd need to know when the time was right. And that time is now. They'll come for you, Mrs. Peterson. It's not just about Travis anymore. They're watching you." My stomach churned. "I don't care about the danger," I said, standing up, the anger and fear boiling inside me. "I need to know who did this to my family. I need to know who killed my husband." Chris sighed, a deep, resigned breath. "I wish I could give you the names, Mrs. Peterson, but you're asking for more than I can give. What you're up against is bigger than Sam Davis. There's a whole network of people who will stop at nothing to keep this quiet, and they've already made their move. Who is behind this network? What will Jade do next? This story is just getting started. Don't miss the next chapter.
Subscribe to Raw Race Stories and stay with us to uncover the shocking truths yet to come. I felt a knot tighten in my chest. I had always known that something was off, but hearing Chris confirm that my husband had been involved in something so dangerous left me reeling. "You don't have to do this alone," Chris said, breaking my thoughts. "But if you want to go after the people who did this, you'll need to be prepared. This isn't just about justice for Travis, it's about staying alive." I nodded, swallowing hard. "What do I need to do?" Chris slid a small folder across the table. "Everything's in there. It's the information you'll need to stay one step ahead. But be careful. They've been watching you, and if you keep digging, they won't stop until they silence you." I hesitated, looking down at the folder. My hands were shaking, but this was it. I had to make a choice. I had to find out the truth, no matter the cost. "Thank you," I said quietly, slipping the folder into my bag. But as I stood to leave, I couldn't help but wonder, was I walking into a trap? Or was I finally ready to uncover the darkest secrets my husband had kept hidden from me? Will she be able to uncover the full truth? This story is far from over. If you want to know what happens next and uncover the shocking truths yet to come, make sure to subscribe to Raw Race Stories.
The weight of the folder Chris handed me felt like a ton of bricks, and as I walked out of his office, I couldn't help but feel the overwhelming pressure of what I had to do next. Every step I took felt like it was taking me further into a web I didn't know how to untangle. My mind raced with questions, with pieces of the puzzle I was trying desperately to put together. The truth was close, but so was the danger, and every minute I spent here only felt like it was tightening around me, like I was being drawn deeper into something I wasn't sure I could survive. I knew I needed to get back to my family. Dylan, Aiden, Max. What if they were part of this? What if they had been manipulated, or worse? What if they were directly involved? The thought made my stomach churn, but no matter how much I tried to push it aside, I couldn't ignore the way Dylan had been acting. I couldn't ignore the way he shut me out every time I asked questions. And now, with Chris's warning still ringing in my ears, I knew there was no turning back. I needed answers. I needed them from my son. The stakes are higher than ever as Jade prepares to confront Dylan. What will she find out? Will she be able to piece everything together? Have you ever had to confront a loved one with the fear they might be hiding something from you? What did you do? Share your thoughts in the comments. By the time I reached home, the house felt different. The air was thick with tension, like the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something to break. I opened the door to find Dylan sitting in the living room, his eyes glued to the TV, but not really watching. The silence between us felt like a chasm. I could feel it in my bones. He knew something, and he wasn't telling me. I took a deep breath, steadying myself for what was about to come. This conversation was no longer just about me getting closure. This was about protecting my family, about uncovering the truth, no matter how ugly it was. "Dylan," I said, my voice shaking slightly, but firm, "we need to talk." He didn't look up first, but after a long pause, he finally turned his head, his face unreadable. "About what, Mom?" His voice was distant, almost rehearsed. "This isn't just about you or me anymore," I said, walking closer. "I know what you're involved in, and I need you to tell me the truth." His expression hardened, and I saw that familiar defensive wall go up in his eyes. "I told you already, Mom, there's nothing to talk about." "Dylan," I said, my voice rising just a little, "don't lie to me. You're not the person you used to be, and I know you're hiding something. I've been patient, I've tried to trust you, but now I need answers. What did Travis get mixed up in? What did you get mixed up in?" Dylan stood up suddenly, his fists clenched at his sides. "You think I'm just some criminal, that I'm hiding something from you?" His voice cracked with anger. "You don't understand, Mom. You don't get it." I stood my ground, refusing to back down. "Then tell me, Dylan. Tell me what I don't get. Why have you been acting like this? Why are you shutting me out? If there's nothing going on, why won't you answer my questions? You owe me that, don't you?" He looked at me for a long time, his eyes flicking away as if he couldn't meet my gaze.
It was like he was trying to make up his mind, deciding whether to tell me the truth or to lie one last time. "I don't know how to fix this, Mom," he said, his voice softening. "I don't know how to make it right." "Make what right?" I asked, my heart racing. "What's broken, Dylan? What have you gotten yourself into?" He took a deep breath, his face tense. "I never wanted this to happen, but I don't know what else to do. I'm trying to protect you, protect all of us." "From what?" I asked, barely able to keep the fear out of my voice. "What could be so bad that you're willing to lie to me?" Dylan's hands dropped to his sides, his shoulders slumping in defeat. For a moment, I saw the boy I raised, the son who had once trusted me with everything. But then the hardness returned to his face. "It's too late for that now, Mom. They'll come for you next." What is Dylan hiding, and who is he afraid of? This story is far from over. If you want to know who Dylan is protecting her from and what happens next, subscribe to Raw Race Stories now. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know who was behind this or what kind of danger we were facing, but I could feel it now, deep in my gut. Dylan wasn't just trying to protect me. He was caught in something so big and dangerous that it had already consumed my husband, and now it was threatening everything I had left. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced as I tried to make sense of the pieces. Travis's death, the messages, Dylan's warning. It all felt like a storm I couldn't escape. I was standing at the edge of something, and I didn't know if I could keep myself from falling. Dylan's cryptic words and Jade's fear of the unknown leave the audience on edge. The mystery deepens, and the stakes are higher than ever. Subscribe to Raw Race Stories, and don't miss what happens next. The truth is just around the corner, and you don't want to miss it.